It's that time of season again where Nathan and I attempt to predict where each and every club in the Premier League will finish at the end of the season. We'll try and be a little bit more concise this time, whereas our championship predictions took around about 40 minutes. So we're going from 20th all the way up to 1st, and let's start with bottom of the table.
So bottom of the league, and it doesn't come with a surprise considering their squad, and that's Sheffield United. Now the big point for me is that since they got promoted from the championship, obviously finishing in second, and they only scraped through a lot of the games, especially watching them as well a lot last season. They've lost Ndiaye, they've lost Tommy Doyle, they've lost all of these good squad players, and even more than that, the experience has gone out there as well, like Svender Stevens and Jack O'Connell, for example, who's retired, and even Billy Sharp going out the door. Really, those leaders and those big voices in the dressing room have just vanished, and they haven't really replaced them at all. So Austin Trusty is a signing that's coming from Arsenal for 5 million. However, I just think it's going to be a pretty dire season. Don't back Heckingbottom at all, and I think they're going to have the lowest points total since Huddersfield, so bottom Sheffield United.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually going to go for the Blade Sheffield United to finish bottom of the table this coming season. Remember last time they came up, I think it was a similar sort of story, but they finished in the top 10, didn't they? They had a really good season. I can't see that happening this season because the recruitment has been awful. We do still have around about 20 odd days of this transfer window remaining, but unfortunately Sheffield United, I think you'll finish bottom. In 19th position, I've gone for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, in the past few years, they've done ever so well defensively, been resolute. They've had problems scoring goals, but in the close season, a lot of players have gone out the door. Most notably, the likes of Ruben Neves, gone to Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure if he's been loaned back to Newcastle. Was a bit of a rumour, probably wrong there. Connor Cody, another big names departure, going to Leicester. Incoming's not that great because of the restrictions with the FFP rules, and the only ones of note really at the moment is Babacar Traore, who's come in from Mets for 9.5 million, and Matt Doherty coming back in from Atletico Madrid. I think it's going to be a season of struggle for Wolves. The lack of firepower is going to cost them, and I can see them finishing in 19th.
Okay, so my 19th position, and I've had a lot of people laugh at me for this, but I just think it's going to happen at last, is Everton. Main reason being is the lack of the number 9 there. Yes, you do have likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He does score at times, but you also have
the pitch.
If he is on the pitch, of course, with his injury issues. They have brought in Dan Juma, who I think is quite a good signing as well. However, will it be the case that he can score the goals because he is technically a winger? Defensively, there's an alright base if it can be consistent. However, likes of Tarkowski, Godfrey, if they're a bit out of form, oh boy, it's terrible. Midfield's alright as well, but for me this season, I just think they need that number 9. They don't have it, and I think they're going down at last. And you have FFP off the pitch to contend with as well. And my final relegation spot is Luton Town. Now, they've brought in some alright transfers. However, most of them sort of are your championship standard players. For example, Ogbene coming in from Rotherham, championship standard player. Ryan Giles, who we know well, I think he can do well at this level. Tai Chong, I think, needs another season in the championship. Also bringing in the likes of Anderson from Barnsley, and also Kaminsky as well from Blackburn. However, solid squad, they're going to have a good crack at it. Rob Edwards I rate as a manager. I just don't think it is enough for Luton this season though. I'd love them to stay up, but they're staying in 18th for me.
Yeah, I've gone for Luton Town, the Hatters, as well, in 18th position. Overall, look at their squad, what they've brought in the close season. Some decent players there, but I don't think it's enough to keep them in the Premier League. When you look at the quality of the other sides there, I think they will bloody a few noses, perhaps at home in that tight stadium that they've got there. They could take points off some of the big boys there, but overall, the course of a 38-game season, ultimately, I can see them going down. In 17th position, I have gone for the Toffees of Everton. Just got that much to stay up. It's going to be touch and go again. They've been there for the past few seasons. They're putting their supporters through a bit of a torrid time at the moment. A lot of players out the door, and they've had a few players come in. You say Dan Juma, Ashley Young coming in to add experience in that back line, but overall, they don't score enough goals. They're going to have to make Goodison Park a fortress once again. But a season of struggle for the Toffees again this season. But I just see them staying up in 17th position.
Next up, we have Wolves in 17th. Now, aside from the Cunha signing coming in from Atletico Madrid, they have also signed Traoré as well from Metz in France.
Yeah, that what is his name? Chunier. Yeah, he is coming up front. Whether he can take the goals, well, Jimenez wasn't scoring anyway, was
well,
he?
Especially after that major injury he had. But the majority base of the team that got them from the Championship into the Premier League and then into the Europa League has completely disappeared. Even squad players such as your Jan Moutinho's has gone. Connor Cody's dropped down a league as well. Ruben Neves, a massive player in midfield, has gone. I was up in an R-in about putting him in the relegation spot. Then I realised, obviously, I do rate Lopetegui as a manager. However, there has been some murmurings that he is going to walk. So it's 50-50 for me. However, to be honest, if he does walk Lopetegui, I think they will go down. However, at this time, I'm going to put them just narrowly surviving. In 16th position, I have Bournemouth. Now, bringing in Areola as a manager, obviously coming in from La Liga, is a very, very good appointment for me, especially with the basis of this Bournemouth squad. And I think they do have a solid Premier League standard squad as well. Great attacking options, solid defensive options. The likes of Philip Billingham as well in midfield is absolutely superb. Traoré coming in from Sassuolo, 25 million, is another great signing as well, adding into the depth. Bringing in Kluivert as well on the left wing from Roma, another solid signing. They're going to have another great season. Yeah, 16th position for me.
Yeah, I've gone exactly the same as you, Nathan. 16th position. The Cherries, okay. That experience last season will keep them instead to keep them up. However, they had a torrid end of the season, some like 5 games on the bounce, which they lost. But bringing in the recruits, this I'm looking forward to is Favre. Looks a very good player coming in from France. So Bournemouth, they're not going to pull up many trees, but I think they'll be in there for another season at the end of this campaign. So I'm going 16th for Bournemouth. In 15th position, I've gone for Nottingham Forest. Last season, Steve Cooper's men did okay. They brought in a load of players. Looks like a load have gone out the door. A few signings in the close season. Alanga has come in for £15 million. A bit more quality on the left wing for Forest. Wood as well up front. Coming in from Newcastle will bolster their attack. I think Awonia and of course Johnson, if they can keep hold of Johnson, because a lot of teams have been sniffing around him, like so Brentford have put in a couple of bids, I believe. So overall, Forest, well, they like Bournemouth won't pull up many trees. I think they'll be fairly safe this season. So I'll put them in 15th position.
So in 15th for me, I have Burnley. Now, being a bit careful with the position of them. Of course, they did walk the Championship under Vincent Kompany last season. The only sticking point for me, and I believe the negotiations are still going on for him, is whether Nathan Teller's going to return to Burnley as well. He was one of the main factors of why they did go up. Him and Scott Twine really building on that squad to push him into the Premier League last season. I think they'll have a first solid season. However, I don't think they're going to finish around 10th or 11th, which a lot of people are backing under their football. I think they need to just take a step back and realise what they're coming up with. They've made some good signings. However, I just think not bringing in Nathan Teller, a player who was so absolutely superb for them last season, may cost them a little bit. Rate their signings, but I think it'll be an alright season for them. 15th.
Talking about Teller though, Nathan, he actually opened the scoring in the Championship, didn't he, on Friday evening for Southampton with Sheffield Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him by the end of August.
So moving on in 14th, like you said, I've got Forest. I think they're going to build on from what they had last season, especially bringing in Chris Wood, who is known to be a good Premier League scorer at this level, adding the support as well to Iwoni, who started to score at the end of last season. So I think they'll have another solid one. I rate Steve Cooper as a manager, so 14th.
In 14th position, surprise to many, I expected West Ham. A lot of people got them finishing higher up the table. Of course, they are the European Conference winners. Losing Declan Rice in the centre of the park will be a big loss. And whether they can invest that money now until the end of the transfer window, we shall see, because they haven't actually made any signings thus far. So with that being in mind, coupled with another European campaign, I'm going to put them in 14th position. In 13th position, I've gone for Burnley. Vincent Kompany, superb at that Championship level as a manager. We'll see if he can do the same in the Premier League. Carries himself really well. Him and Craig Bellamy got loads of contacts, you should imagine, in the Premier League. Bringing in loanees from the likes of Manchester City and across Europe as well. Very good squad. Whether they can replace the goals teller put in the back of the net last season, we shall see as the season gets underway. But they've attempted to do that by bringing in Amdouri, I think it is, from Basel. We'll see how he gets on anyway, but I'm going to put Burnley in 13th position.
Interesting. My 13th position, I think they're going to have a little drop off, and that is Brentford. Thomas Frank, obviously rate him as a manager. They have a solid squad as well, which did really well last season. However, I just think losing out on Ivan Toney until at least January really dries up a lot of the goals there. So I think they're going to have a small drop off, but it's not going to be absolutely horrendous as a lot of people said last season, so put them in 13th. In 12th position, I've gone for Crystal Palace. Now, Roy is once again at the club. Obviously, Wilfried Zaha has gone out the door now, which in my opinion is going to back them in the long run. Bringing in Mateus Franca as well from Flamengo on a £20 million deal is pretty decent. A lot of the Asian players are going out the door. Milivojevic has gone now. James McArthur's gone now. Obviously, two Stonewall Palace players, but they still got the strengths of that squad who got them into that solid position last year. They always finish in and around between 13th and 11th, so I'm going to go 12th.
12th for me, I've put Fulham in there, a little bit of a drop off. Mitrovic saying, or is quoted as saying he doesn't want to play for Fulham anymore, would be a massive blow, and probably that's why they brought in Jimenez. Whether he can recreate his goal scoring prowess from a few seasons ago, not so sure. Maybe the style that Fulham employ will be more suited to his play. With regard to their current squad, like Paulinho and Harry Wilson and Pereira, who was relegation last season, so many assists, and I think he was on penalty duty as well when Mitrovic wasn't on the pitch. So I think Fulham will have a decent enough season again, and I can see them finishing in 12th position. In 11th position, I have gone for Crystal Palace, the Eagles, the likes of Eze and Lisa, who may actually be injured at the moment. It's going to be so important to their season. They have brought in a little bit of muscle in the form of Jefferson Lerma from Bournemouth. Overall, another mid-table finish for Crystal Palace. I think in the last, 5-6 years, they finished between, that 14th and 9th position, and I can see it happening again.
So in 11th for me, I've got Fulham. Now, I think they're going to have another solid season. It just worries me about who's going to replace Mitrovic up top, but they've still got the basis of a very good squad there at Fulham, and Marco Silva has done an alright job there as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be another solid season for them. I'm going to put them 11th. Next up in 10th, I might have put them a little bit high, but I've gone for West Ham. Obviously coming off the back of that Conference League win in the Europa League next season as well. I do think this will be David Moyes' last season in charge, and they haven't really brought in anyone yet. However, they have banked over £100 million for Declan Rice, which would be a massive loss in midfield, but I think with the money that they have, they're going to reinvest it well. So for that reason, and the fact that the transfer window is still open, I think they're going to finish 10th this season. Yeah,
10th for me, Nathan. I've gone for Brentford, as you say. You said they're going to be finishing 13th position. I got them a little bit higher. Ivan Toney banned until January. Of course, they brought in a couple of players from Freiburg. Flecken in goals may actually start as number one because Raya may be going out the door. Lots of clubs sniffing around him, and Sade is a right winger coming in for 25 million. Brentford always seem to pluck out these players that nobody's heard of, and they go on to do a great thing. So Brentford, another solid season. Dead centre of the table, 10th position for me. In 9th position, I have gone for Tottenham Hotspur. New manager Postecoglou coming down from Celtic in the close season. Really good, exciting manager. However, Harry Kane looks to be going out the door. Bayern Munich, it hasn't been finalised yet, but if and when he does go, then a lot of goals have gone out of that side. They have Kulivashki's actually signed on permanent now, as has Poro. James Maddison coming into the side, a very, very good signing, England international. But overall, when Kane does leave, I think it's going to spell trouble. They'll do all right, 9th position. They're not in Europe, so that may aid them push up the table a little bit, up to 6th, possibly 7th. But ultimately, I can see Spurs having a very quiet season.
Interesting. In 9th position, I've actually gone for Brighton. I do think it'll be a little bit of a drop off from last season. However, with your Chelseas, with your Tottenhams coming back into it after terrible seasons last year, and also with another club in Aston Villa, just wait till you see where I put them later on with all of them having such strong squads, I think Brighton are going to dip a little bit, and they'll be all right in Europe, but I do think they will struggle with the amount of games coming in. However, they have made some good signings, for example, in João Pedro, so I think they'll have another solid season. However, I do think they're going to fall a little bit, so 9th. In 8th place, I have gone for Tottenham. Now, I really do rate Ange Postecoglou as a manager. However, they have to get this Harry Kane situation sorted. You just can't say to a player, nope, you're not going to be sold under any circumstances, when he clearly doesn't want to be there.
They always drag their feet, don't they?
Exactly. Well, it's just a Tottenham thing as well. And to be honest, with the age that Kane is now, get rid of him for 70 million and start to build forward. And then that is the reason I put them in 8th. However, if they stick with Postecoglou and get with it within the coming seasons, I do think they'll start to push into the Champions League under him.
8th for me, I've gone for Brighton and Hove Albion. I can actually see these guys finishing a lot higher, especially they brought in the likes of João Pedro. They brought in the likes of, as you say, João Pedro. I'm really looking forward to Mahund, I think he is, central midfielder, coming in from Dortmund. Looks a real good player. But losing McAllister, big boots to fill in that sort of number 10 role, or when he moves back down the pitch to an 8. Overall, though, Brighton in Europe as well this season. Whether that hinders their progress, we shall find out in the coming season. But it's 8th position for Brighton for me. In 7th position, I have gone for Chelsea. A disaster of a season last time out. In comes new manager. Pochettino knows all about the Premier League, of course. The likes of Nkunku, who's already injured. He's out for a couple of weeks. But the one I'm really looking forward to is Jackson, scoring a hatful of goals in pre-season, along with Nkunku as well. A lot of players going out the door. Havertz to rivals Arsenal. He did score in the Champions League final, of course, and Mason Mount going to Man United, Kovacic, Man City. So it's sort of the changing of the guard at Chelsea. I can see them doing a lot better this coming season. We've got them in 7th, but I can't see them getting into those Champions League spots at this present time. Yeah,
this is going to take time to rebuild from, to be honest, especially under Pochettino, and Todd Bowley has to learn to give him time, because the amount of player turnover this season as well. While you've literally just said it then, Havertz, even though I thought it was a bit iffy at Chelsea at times, obviously on Arsenal. Mason Mount as well, his big loss in midfield. Kovacic, who was a really solid midfielder for them, he's out the door. Koulibaly out the door as well. Pulisic, Mendy, just Loftus-Cheek as well. Kante. Really, it's going to be a completely different team there next season. I think. Well, who's going to be their striker? Because at the moment, if you play Nkunku there up front, even when he is fit, he's not a striker for me. They need an out-and-out striker. Jackson, he may score goals, but at the same time, what happens if he gets injured or he has a dry spell? I don't know. So for now, I'm just going to put them in 7th. However, I think they could potentially finish a lot lower. In 6th position, I've gone for Aston Villa, and boy, this squad is strong, and I think they could finish even higher as well if they're not careful. So bringing in Moussa Diaby as well from Bayer Leverkusen, brilliant signing. Pau Torres in defence as well from Villarreal, brilliant. Tielemans on a free from Leicester, that's an incredible signing as well. They're going to have another incredible season, so I'm going to put them in 6th, and they're also going to win the Conference League under Mr. Good Evening. Yeah, brilliant manager Unai Emery, really good last season. I think they'll do a lot better this season as well. 6th position, they've got the squad depth to battle on all 4 fronts, including European competition. Could finish a little bit higher as well. I've seen a few people actually mention they could get into the Champions League spots. You never know, they could do, but I've got them in a very, very respectable 6th position. In 5th position, I've gone for Liverpool now. Remember, this year, the top 5 teams finishing the Premier League will qualify for the following season's Champions League. That's if the coefficient from UEFA actually reaches the threshold, but I think it will with the Premier League. It should do at the moment, shouldn't it? Yeah. But, Liverpool bought in a couple of midfielders, and boy, they need it in Szoboszlai, the Hungarian player from RB Leipzig, looks like a real player. McAllister as well, who did very, very well for Brighton, and of course he's a World Cup winner as well. They have lost a load of players, mainstays, a lot of experience in the middle of the park. Going forward, look absolutely fantastic. It's at the back where I worry about them a little bit. Van Dijk has been the best
centre-half defender in the Premier League for a number of years now. Starting to drop off a little, not that much, still quality, but defensively, if they get injuries in the rear guard, then I can see teams getting at them. I've got them in 5th, which I think is probably quite fair.
Interesting. In 5th, and a lot of people have called me completely insane for this, but I have gone for Manchester United. I did do these predictions before Man United signed Rasmus Højlund from Atalanta, which I think is a great signing up front. And also bringing in the likes of Mason Mount and also Onana to replace De Gea in goals, who's gone out the door at the end of this season. Not really many outs at the moment, and Ten Hag's in his 2nd season, so I think it's going to be another good one for them. However, with the teams that I have above them, I just think they're going to fall a little bit short. However, they will still qualify for the Champions League, so I've got them in 5th. In 4th position, I have gone for Newcastle United. Once again, another solid season for them. I mean, bringing in Tonali is just all you need to know. That's all I will say. In my opinion, one of the strongest midfields now in the Premier League. Replacing Alam Saint-Maximin with Harvey Barnes as well is absolutely brilliant, considering how good he was at Leicester last season. So I think they're going to have another fantastic season, and they could even finish higher, so I'm going to go 4th.
Yeah, between 4th and 1st, I think it's going to be a real battle for that top spot. In 4th position, I have gone for Arsenal. There's nothing to say that they can't finish higher than this, but they haven't got an out-and-out goal scorer, but do you actually need one with the amount of forward talent they've got? Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, they got Havertz, Jesus, who's currently injured, and Declan Rice coming into the middle midfield as well. So plenty of talent, but with the teams around them, it's going to be a real battle, but I've got Arsenal finishing in 4th position. In 3rd position, I have gone for Newcastle United. Now, it's going to be very interesting how Newcastle cope with European football and the Premier League.
First time in about how long? 20 years at least,
something
is it?
like that. And the Premier League as well. Tonali, one of the best signings from any club in this close season. Harvey Barnes coming in for Leicester. They've got an abundance of left wingers at the moment, even though Saint-Maximin has gone out the door. Another very solid season for Newcastle. I worry a little bit about them defensively. They started off so well last season, not conceding many goals at all, but as the season wore on, there were a few leaks starting to happen at the rear guard, and if they get a few injuries, I'm not sure they got enough quality cover to cope at the back. However, Newcastle, with the amount of money they got, they can flex, can't they? So I'm putting the Magpies in 3rd position.
My 3rd position, I have gone for Liverpool, and some say it could be a bit of a transitional season for Liverpool. However, I think they are going to push on and do a little bit better than last year. However, there are a few missing pieces in the middle of midfield still, which they will sign over time. However, it's just getting them obviously to bed in. So Szoboszlai, I really rate as a central attacking midfielder, and McAllister as well. However, if they sign a central defensive midfielder, then I think they are set. For the example, the likes of Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, Naby Keita all going out the door. Massive losses to them as well. However, it's just going to take time really, and there's still time in the transfer window, so you never know at this point. In 2nd position, I've gone for the most expensive squad in the Premier League, and that is Arsenal. Now, they could very well win the league with their abundance of talent up top, and of course bringing in Declan Rice from West Ham for over 100 million. The other defender that they've brought in, who I really like as well, matching up with Saliba as well, who had a great season last year, is Hurrien Timber.
Yeah, but will he get
really great?
Because Gabriel's there as well.
Gabriel is there. However, it's just adding to their defensive firepower that they have. They're going to have another solid season. However, unfortunately, going to have to put Man City top of the league as the champions again for next season.
So my top 2, Nathan, you've just said they're going to finish top. I've gone for Manchester United. Eric Ten Hag, 2nd season in the Premier League. Gave a lot of experience from what happened last season. Casemiro is there for another season as well. One of the best midfielders in the Premier League. You're bringing in this Højlund. I know he hasn't scored a lot of goals for Atalanta, but when you consider their other attacking options, Rashford, who scored a hatful of goals last year, and Martial.
Yeah, he's a winger though, isn't he?
Yeah, that's why they need a real good centre forward. Mason Mount, decent signing. Looks like he's done really well in pre-season. Onana, big goalkeeper to come in. considering De Gea won the Golden Glove last season. Johnny Evans coming back to Manchester United
Again.
as well. I think Man United will have a real good season. They've got European competition as well, but I put Man United in second position, which means Manchester City for me will end up as champions once again. They've just signed in Carvalho from Leipzig. God, Leipzig's churning them out all over the place, aren't they? For
He's
what,
a quality
£75 million
centre-back,
or 90 million euros. Kovacic will add steel into the centre of that midfield. Quite a few players going out the door, like Samara's gone to Saudi. Gundogan will be a massive loss, but when you consider they've got Haaland up front, any team who've got Haaland up front is going to be formidable. So Manchester City, for the fourth time in the row, I've got them as champions.
Yeah, completely unprecedented. I mean, bringing in the likes of Varzol to add to that really good defence as well is just amazing, and a good replacement, or a solid replacement, you could say, for the amount they paid for him in Kovacic, bringing him in to replace, of course, Gundogan, who's gone to Barcelona.
So there we have it, guys. Those are our predictions for the entire season of the 2023-2024 campaign. Make sure you head over to superbrew.com and join our predictions league once again, because I will be running this alongside the Championship Predictions League as well. Code is on the screen for you all, and link is in the description. Now, Nathan, before we go, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, same as every other season, who is going to be the first manager to go?
Sheffield United have a bad start to the season, then Mr. Heckenbottom could see his bottom out the door.
Absolutely. I'm going to go a little bit different, and I think this is going to happen. I'm going to go with Lopetegui at Wolves. I think he is going to end up walking, but if it's not Lopetegui, then Heckenbottom's out the door first, 100%.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us once again. Look out for the Premier League Predictions weekly show, which is coming very, very soon, because the Premier League starts in just a few days' time.